In general, trustee of trusts, other than those serving as municipal trustees, may be compensated from a trust for their activities. Section RSA 564 B7-708. In the absence of specific language in the trust instrument, the amount of compensation must be based upon a determination of what is reasonable. In the Article 10 of her will, Emma Scribner did not set forth a formula for determining the amount of her trustee's compensation, so general considerations of reasonableness will apply. I understand that in recent years, a trustee compensation has been set at $200 to $250 apiece, with the total payments of the 5 trustees amounting to $1,000 to $1,250 a year. The total value of the trust assets of December 31, 2018 was $96,000, 2017, during a market dip, and $117,215, 32 1 year later.
Earlier.
One year earlier, excuse me. The market value was $134,277 on December of 2011. So it's pretty much, assuming the market has recovered in 2019, the total annual trustee compensation amounts to about 1% of the trust assets. That amount seems a bit high as a percentage of total assets, but not in absolute dollars. I advise the trustee consider the advise the trustees to consider the reasonableness of their fees each year, considering the complexity of their work, the time involved, and the value of the trust.
I just would like to point out that I think it's really interesting that the, what is his name, Donovan?
Donovan.
Yeah, at the Attorney General's office uses the same math I do with percentages. At the last meeting, you said that you preferred simple math, and you were disparaging my use of the percentages.
I just said you had one way to do it, and I have another way of doing it. That's all.
And I just find it interesting. I think the continuing with that, we could talk about that later.
The second inquiry relates to the trust investment portfolio. While I am not qualified to comment on the specific investment selected, the trustees' 2019 investment policy, growth with income, is appropriate for trusts with an indefinite time horizon. The third inquiry relates to the trustees' decision reflected in the November 3rd, 2019, to charge an annual fee of $10,000 to the Ashland Library trustees beginning in 2020. The fee to be used for maintenance of the Scribner building housing the Ashland Town Library. The relationship between the Scribner Trust and the Town Library has been complicated and includes a court cypress, which I have
Cypre order.
which I have never seen that. So, an attempt removal of the library from the building in 1998, and a dispute over the building usage in 2013. The Scribner trustees' justification for charging a fee, the rising cost to maintain the building, and the inadequacy of the income fund generated by the Scribner Trust to pay those costs. There is no easy resolution to this third inquiry. The Scribner Trust likely adequately maintain the library.
Cannot adequately
maintain the library building, relying on trust income. The town owns the building itself, per Article 9th of the will, and there is a question whether the trustees have the authority to charge the town library a user's fee. Likely additional funds will need to come from somewhere for the upkeep of the Scribner building. It makes sense for the Scribner trustees, the library trustees, and the select board to discuss a resolution to this. Part of the discussion should consider whether the Scribner Trust can fulfill its original purpose, and if not, what, if any, purpose should it have going forward. Should the parties reach an agreement, another trip to the court may be in order.
Well, I'd make one comment, which will tie right into this, and some of what you discussed, Amanda. If we didn't do anything with the present trust we have, it would be about a few years, say 20 years roughly, or 23 years.
Well, 23 years is, you're still not understanding what I said.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay, I think 23 years is way far out there, but okay.
let me finish, and then you
Well,
can
wait,
talk.
we're using your math 23 years, aren't we?
But you're misinterpreting my math, 23 years. What that 23 years is if you take the trust and you don't touch it at all, you leave it alone,
Yeah, I
and you let
understand.
it grow.
Yeah, I understand.
So 23
Then in
years
23
from
years from
now,
now,
you're gonna
it
feel
would
comfortable
be
with $10,000.
It would be
absolute. Then there would be
Yeah,
enough
I
that you
understand
can.
that.
Then it can sustain $10,000
Right,
a
and
year.
if we go
Well,
back to the other,
this is what I'm getting at.
Okay.
So at any rate, so if we didn't do anything with the trust, somehow or other we need to have money to maintain this place, right? Now, if we're going to wait 23 years while it falls apart, we could do that, I guess.
Sure, you could just not do anything for 23
But
years.
so what I'm getting at, that's not a likely solution to the problem.
I
with
agree.
doing nothing.
It's not a reasonable
No,
solution.
not at all. So that be that what it may, but there's got to be a better solution than that.
Certainly. And I go. Of course, I, as Rick stated, I agree that I suppose we should wait until legal comes back
yeah,
with,
we have
with what they
no
see.
choice but to wait till later.
Yeah, yeah,
End
yeah,
of the conversation, really.
yeah,
Then our next step will be plotted at that point.
yeah. I have a question though, not about charging the library users fee, because I agree with Rick. That's kind of settled for now, or at least tabled until we hear from legal. But I do think that it's very interesting to consider, again, the reasonableness of the stipend, which is something that I know in an email, I think it was in November to you, Dick, but I also CC'd at the time, Rick, and I don't know if your email at that time was still, you were still using it, or Tom, because it is, in my opinion, the percentage of this stipend as a percentage of what is spent on the trust and as a percentage of its value. And as I said in that email to you, has, in my opinion, and we're all entitled to our opinions, been the single most, single greatest contributing factor to the trust depletion. And I think that it's because, I should say, I know that it's because when you're dealing with invested income, you're not dealing with a finite amount of money. You're dealing with a dynamic amount of money. When you deal with a checking account, you're dealing with a finite amount of money. It's a static amount. And when you write a check, it has an absolute effect on that balance. Not true with invested income. That's a dynamic amount. And when you take something off, although even as he said, compensation amounts are 1%, it seems a bit high as a percentage of total, but not in absolute dollars. And as you said, September meeting, Rick, when I pointed out to those who were there at the September meeting at the fire station that you were taking, that the stipends were totaling $1,250, and you said $250 each, which doesn't seem like a lot of money. It seems like a very trivial amount of money. It's not even a car payment. But I then said, but multiply by 5 is 1,250.
That's right.
So as he says in his letter, in absolute dollars, it's not a very, very much money. However, as a percentage of the total assets, it's really rather high. And that is what is affecting the depletion of the trust. It's affecting it at a very high rate and has for decades. And in my opinion, it is the number one contributing factor to the depletion of the trust. That this trust would have been of a greater value. You can't just put the money that you've taken. I mean, if I look at the town reports, Rick, and I just add up how many years you've been a trustee, and I look at the trustee stipends, you've taken over $5,000. And if you just went and put that back in, yeah, you did. 250, multiply it out by how many years been here, because I looked at the town reports.
20 years.
Yeah, there you go.
That's good. I didn't realize I was so rich.
Yeah, well, exactly. And it seems like a very paltry amount. However, if that were put back today, it wouldn't have the effect of $5,000, because that $5,000 was taken out and deprived the trust over time of investment value. So when you all took, and I see the draft here of the Scribner town report, and you take your stipends of $1,000, it's not $1,000 like you take it out of the checking book.
That's right. It's not.
It's more than that.
It's a cost.
It's well, yeah, and I think that
No, it's a cost.
I think it's a cost to the trust,
Correct.
and that trust, and what makes me just so damn mad is because that trust was set aside by Emma Scribner for the benefit of the Ashland taxpayers. And instead of leaving that money
And
in the trust, and I'm not done speaking yet.
Sorry.
Instead of leaving that money in the trust for the benefit of the taxpayers, you're taking it out and you're sticking it in your own pocket. And that's not what it was for.
That's right.
And I
your
think
opinion.
I'm not the only one with that opinion. And it is my opinion.
Thank you.
You're entitled to it.
I am. And I'm seeing a trust that's depleting more rapidly. And now we're going to need to put
By
on a
your
roof.
words, this year we're back to where we were in 17. Correct? Is that what you just told me?
I said we're almost there.
Yeah, that's right.
We're 3,000 short.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been 2,000.
Yeah. Good.
Could have been 2,000,
Yeah.
1/3 more.
And it could have been depleted had this board, during the period of, we'll say from 08 forward, or actually, let's go back to 1999, when the town select board was taking monies from all the departments in town,
Yes.
all right, to run the town, and
Yes.
came over here and told us they wanted our checkbook.
Yes.
And we told them that it wasn't available to them. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any money left in the trust.
And that was after McNamara, I think, was
Correct.
prosecuted. So that was
No, this was before she was prosecuted.
Yes.
but it was after they were left with less money because of her. That she had not been prosecuted yet. But yes. Yeah,
Water
no,
over
I
the
understand. It was
dam. Water over the
it was a dire situation. Yes.
No, no thievery is what it was.
Well, the
It was
dire
people-
situation on the
it
part
was
of the town.
people whose fiduciary responsibility
Mm-hmm.
was not done. They fell asleep at the switch. They allowed it to happen. The Attorney General's office allowed this town for over 3 years, and I maybe 4, but I'll go 3 years. They never audited the books here. And then they marched up here when we were broke, and we were $1.5 million in the hole, I believe. I'm correct, $1.5 million in the hole. And they wanted us to add $1.5 million to that year's tax base so that we could put the money aside so that the select board would feel comfortable again because they fell asleep at the switch. End of the conversation on the stipend. I'm all done with that. Thank you.
I'm not seeing the relevance between the two arguments, but anyway.
There's no relevance between the two arguments, none
Okay.
whatsoever. The fact of the matter is that the trust wouldn't have been here if the board hadn't have been strong and stood up to the select board and said, you're not taking our checkbook. That's
Okay.
that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't be here having this conversation about $1,000 or $1,250 had this board not stood here. He was here at the time. I was here at the time. Ray Burke, Ed Doobie.
Eddie,
I'm trying to think who the fifth one was at that time, because Tommy had gone. But anyway, regardless who was here or not here, when the Attorney General office come up here and asked us where our money was, we were able to show them. Right? To the point where we're actually able to save the trustees, the Memorial Park money,
right,
which
right.
they had turned over to the town, and we got that money back for those ladies. So we've drafted somewhat of a little response to straighten out Mr. Donovan's recollection of what went on.
There's a copy of that here.
Yep, you'll see it as a draft copy.
Oh, I see it.
This is a draft, it hasn't been purveyed yet. As we do here, we always agree on everything before we let it go. Mr. Donovan, none of the inquiries have been made by the Board of Scribner Trustees. Regardless, we do appreciate your assessment of the inquiries, and as for your assessment of the first and second inquiry, we are well aware and we have always complied.
That's the first and second inquiry. Okay.
The third inquiry is the one that's in question right here. The 1970 court decision was a result of the Scribner trustees receiving notice from the Attorney General's office that the Scribner trustees removed the town library from the Scribner building because the library in the Scribner building was not in compliance with the will of Emma Scribner. Shouldn't even be here. according
It
to-
had to do
Well,
with,
well,
I'm sorry, community use.
That's exactly right.
Mhm.
It's not the town library, it's the
Mhm.
Scribner Center.
Mm-hmm.
The Attorney General was correct. So the Scribner trustees filed a petition to the court requesting permission that the Scribner trustees could deviate from the will so that they would allow the town library to be located in the Scribner building. The court so ordered it.
Yes.
Director Donovan, you stated in your letter that an attempted removal of the library from the building in 1998. There has never been an attempt to remove the library from the Scribner, from the building by the Scribner trustees. The fact is, in 1998, the library trustees hired an attorney and attempted to have the Scribner trustees removed from the Scribner building. What was that, Dick? That was like $8,000 it cost, right?
No.
Yeah.
And
So
that
there's-
was $8,000 that it cost the trust. I'm
It cost
sorry.
the
That's
trust.
right.
Okay, to
Defend.
Okay.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
That was an expensive,
That was and that was the second go around to that one, wasn't
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
was so we
Yeah.
they actually the Scribner trustees have been sued or taken to court. Let me say that word better.
Mm-hmm.
Taken to court twice
Mm-hmm.
by the library trustees.
Mm-hmm. When was the second time?
Mid-90s, when we hired an Mandan firm to come up.
well, Normandan, we hired Normandan. That was the expensive one. That was like $8,000.
That was the $8,000
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Prior to that,
I wasn't here in '98, so I can't speak to it.
there was something prior to that, and I don't recall the specifics.
I mean, it really goes back to
The last
1945.
one we had was Normandan when we had.
Yes, that was the $8,000.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
But
that,
were you here for that one?
yes, I was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I was. As for building usage issues,
Mm-hmm.
the town libraries,
The library trustees.
excuse me, the library trustees have called the fire marshal and, on several occasions, our town fire chief to lodge complaints.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, the Scribner trustees were forced to change building usage rules in order to comply.
Mm-hmm.
So, the basics of that conversation is that the state fire marshal's office come up here and shut the second floor down.
Mm-hmm.
And at which time, we used to meet over at the Norman's Insurance Agency there, Ashland Insurance Agency. We didn't even use the second floor ourselves
Mm-hmm.
because we stayed in compliance with the state fire marshal's recommendation that it not be used.
Mm-hmm. That's because there's no sprinklers.
Nah, it has nothing to do
Oh,
with that.
what? Why is it?
It was handicapped access was the point.
It couldn't be used because of handicap
Yeah,
access.
you can't get people up and down.
Okay, that doesn't
We try-
sound
I know
like
it
that
doesn't
would
sound
keep
right, but
it. A
that's-
fire marshal would have
Right.
objection to that.
But see, so the sprinkler system came around. When that conversation came around, we talked about that, and basically, the long and the short of it is that quieted the state fire marshal's office down because this building was not used as a residence. It was strictly used as a day usage
community
facility.
center.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So, because it's not a residence, I'm sorry. Where was that leading to with being and using the second floor? Because we're sitting here right now.
That's correct. So they backed down, so we're up here.
Because it's not.
But you cannot hold.
residence.
That's correct.
Oh,
But
I
you
see.
cannot. You cannot allow. So the library trustees and the librarians are allowed up here because they are part of the physical usage of this building.
I see.
So they have a little office over here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. I'm still not quite following the argument. The reason that your meetings had to be moved to the Norman Insurance Agency and you were not allowed up here was a fire marshal said that it was unsafe. But
He
then
said it was unsafe to be used by the public, but we returned with a response later on that said the people inside the building could use the building because it wasn't a residence. They're not up here during the daytime. Chances are, in the event of a catastrophe or something like that, being on the first floor, they could get out of the building. Being on the second floor, they would be aware. It was a small usage thing. It's only a small number of people.
okay,
It
it's the
wasn't like
load.
we're having a movie theater up here.
The load of the building. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
The Scribner trustees in the past have charged usage fees to the state and county for their use of the space in the building. It was a time we also allowed certain things to go on up here. The welfare guy,
Right.
we let him come up here, so it was a little bit of privacy for those people coming to make application for fuel assistance, whatever.
Right.
Rather than going to the town hall, we said this is a great thing. Come up here, set up camp, use it that way.
I think Tom said DOT used it at one point.
Yep.
Now,
Yep.
that I have a question about that though. When the welfare officer, for example, was using this, were the Scribners sending a bill to the BOS?
I don't remember, to be honest
how
with you.
how was that bill or was there a donation being made by the BOS to Scribner, which is very
I
different?
don't recall how it was handled.
And my same question is with the DOT. When the DOT was using this, as Tom said, decades ago, was
Let's
that
finish
a
the paragraph?
well?
and
But
then
it
becomes more.
it is very different to have a
Correct.
bill versus a donation.
And
Okay,
so the second
sentence.
sentence in this: town beach, town campground, booster clubs. The Scribner trustees have the right to charge a user's fee as well to those who use the Scribner building. The Scribner Trust has absorbed the cost of the library in the building for 80 years, and the time has come for the library to pay a reasonable fee to help sustain and improve the situation.
Mm-hmm. I have one. I don't like the last sentence. This fee will allow the library to stay in the building as long as needed. I think that the fee would allow, it seemed to me that if the purpose of the trust is to sustain the building, then charging a fee to a tenant in the building, as Tom called the library, would allow the trust to support the building that tenant is in, not necessarily supporting the library, but supporting the building. Because isn't that the purpose of the Scribner Trust, is to maintain the building? I would say, regardless of who the tenants in the building are, and that charging a fee would be for the maintenance of the building. I just think that that's truer to the purpose of the trust.
Well, I don't have a problem with that, but the problem, the meaning is that you want to sustain this property as long as we possibly can, or as long as it's needed,
We want to sustain the property,
whether
yes.
it's the library or anybody else.
Exactly.
So via your words,
Mm-hmm.
if the library would have to leave this building, what would be the burden on the town?
We'd have to sustain the building, wouldn't you find? Tom said, I think at one of the meetings,
Whoa,
he had
whoa,
lots
whoa,
of
whoa.
ideas for other tenants.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about if the library, as the entity that is in this building now, that is basically most of the usage of the building, correct?
Yeah,
Okay, if they had to move out,
yeah.
what would become the cost to the taxpayer? We're always concerned about what it's costing
Absolutely.
the taxpayer.
It depends on where the library. I mean, that would be a library, line item issue on the town budget,
That's exactly right.
and that's why I have said from the beginning, because you've watched the videos and you have the audio recording, is that I think it's just using the library as a vehicle. The library doesn't earn an income. Either way, it goes to the taxpayer.
Correct.
So you're just using the library as a vehicle to get money from the taxpayer. The library makes no income. So
Correct.
where is the library going to get the money, the $10,000 a year, to pay their user's fee?
So where would the library, if the library was not in this building,
Yep.
and they had to go buy a building
Or buy a building, or move to another building the town
or
owns,
rent another building
or
somewhere, lease
move to
another
a building the
whatever it
town
is,
owns,
And
and
maintain that building.
and
maintain
that,
that building.
what would be the cost of that to the taxpayer? Far greater than
Perhaps.
what we're talking. Oh, no, come on, be
Yeah.
reasonable with yourself.
Well, I mean, I'm just
But wait a
thinking
minute now,
about.
one of
sorry.
our very first meetings here, you said that you know how to use a library and get it moving. I think was your words.
No, I don't
Well,
think
the
so.
first 28 minutes of one of your meetings.
Use a library and get it moving?
Yeah, well, you were patting yourself on the back for your good work with the Holderness Public Library and their expansion.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
what
It
I'm
was an
referring to.
expansion of that. I don't know if I
Correct.
use the library and get it moving, but yes. I'm sorry.
And
What?
no,
And you're shrugging, so I'm saying
well,
what?
no, that's what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying to you, is that what would the cost of that be as opposed to the $10,000 to help maintain this building? Keep the library in here,
Mm-hmm.
all
At a
right?
cost. Well, I have said.
I guarantee you,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing you have to do, if I'm a library trustee, I have to go out and find a building, figure out how to staff it, maintain it,
Sure.
et cetera, et
Sure.
cetera,
Heat it.
and present that bill to the town.
Absolutely.
So,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
And what I have said is I think that either way, it's a cost to the town. There's going to be a
Correct.
cost to the town. We're all in agreement on that.
exactly.
We're all in
Absolutely.
agreement on that. I went ahead with the letter to the library simply because it was a public statement of the depletion of the trust and that we're going to need town funds. I think that it's using the library as a vehicle to do that. I think, and I agree with Donovan's letter from the Attorney General's office that the best thing we could all do is just to sit down, which I've said many times, is just to sit down with the Board of Selectmen, sit down with the library trustees, and say, this is our financial situation.
This is what we're doing right now.
We're using the library as a vehicle. It ups their budget 15%.
That's right.
So budget committee's like,
So,
forget that.
So what happens if they move out of the building? How much is that gonna up the percentage? Like
It's gonna be a lot more than 15%.
It's gonna be more than
if they go elsewhere.
15%.
Sure. And it's going to cost them.
$10,000.
So why aren't we just putting this as a line item then on the Ashland Town budget? That's what I don't understand.
We're proposing, you have to start the game, the process somewhere. So
Okay.
what we're doing is we're
Throwing.
and you brought it to us. You
Throwing
guys
the
got to
first
do
shot.
something here. You can't maintain this and you bounce back between 17 to 34 months. We're going to be broke. Was your original
18 to 36. Sure.
18 to 36, 17 to 34.
Sure. Very
Okay?
similar. Yeah.
Very similar number. So when that goes on, what happens? I mean, we're a year in now, and we're doing a little bit better than we were. Like
Doing a little bit
17.
better. You
Yeah.
almost made it
And we
to
took
the.
the $1,000 out to boot.
And you almost made it to the loss of 2008. You're still not back to where you were in 08, but
That's right.
you're trying. And then we're going to put a roof on, which will be a percentage of it.
Mm-hmm.
You still don't understand how the dynamics of investment, though, Rick. You still don't understand that. You still don't understand what the stipends are doing and have done to it. But it's really, at this point, almost a moot point because it's not going to make the trust recover if you stop
That's right.
taking your stipends.
That's right.
It only hastens
Yep.
it.
So turn back the clock 60 years ago. They shouldn't have had a stipend then. And the stipend's been in
Shouldn't
place.
have.
ever-
And you never stopped it.
That's right. It's
You
never
just
been
kept
stopped.
going and you
That's
kept
right.
putting it in your pocket,
did-
even
we
though
did
it wasn't
stop it
even
for
a
several
car
years.
payment.
How many
You
years?
stopped it for 3 or 4. I've got the dates here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then it didn't even reach back to where it was in 08 and you started taking it again. So, but at any rate, it is a catastrophe. It's not a crisis. In my opinion, we're all going to have our
Well, the
opinions.
thing is, the stipend's not really the problem. It's your problem, but it's not really the problem.
I disagree, and so does the Attorney General.
Well,
but
No, the attorney
No,
general
he
just said it
doesn't
was.
disagree.
he
just
said
it
that
was
he.
fine.
No, he didn't say
He
it was
said in real
fine.
dollars.
He said yes, because in absolute dollars, and again, that's what I was
that's
trying to. At $250 as an absolute fee on a
Yeah.
checking account.
Yeah.
It's not a lot. However, the amount is a bit high as percentage of total assets, which is what I'm trying to make you gentlemen understand how investment income works. It's not a checking account. So anyway, so you want to send this letter to Donovan as your reply? Why do you feel the need to reply?
I think you need to reply
Because
I think if somebody sends you a letter, you need to reply.
But
if somebody challenges you,
I don't see this
if
as a
an attorney-
challenge.
It isn't. It isn't. Somebody obviously. Then what we need to do is we need to find out where all his information originated from. Obviously, somebody went down to the Attorney General or whomever and made note to raise these questions, and obviously he's responded, and his response is somewhat inadequate, or not inadequate, is somewhat convoluted by lack of information, which we just talked about here.
No, I think we should reply.
Attorney General sent you a letter. Amanda, you're not going to respond?
Well, I guess it depends on if I felt that I don't feel, in my opinion, I don't feel a need to respond to this. Apparently you do, and Dick does. Mark's quiet. I don't know what Mark
I think the paper trail
thinks.
needs to continue. I think that he needs to be aware that, a couple of things in this letter have been misrepresented to him to put him on an even keel, so he understands the situation. Just to start out the letter with, what's his words? We're very familiar. Yeah, we are familiar with these activities over the years. That's right. They should be very familiar with it.
So you feel that this is, I guess, a threatening letter somehow, because you feel the need to
No,
respond to
I
it.
don't feel threatened by it, but I think it needs to be corrected. Then, if we accept his letter the way it's drafted to us, he makes a couple of points that need to be challenged.
I still have a problem with the last sentence. I think it should say that the fee will allow the Scribners to maintain the building as long as needed.
Meant the word library and you're a happy camper, correct?
Not just that, because that wouldn't make any sense. The fee would allow the Scribners, the Scribner board,
The trust.
Scribner board, the trust. I'll take the trust, the Scribner trust, to maintain the building. To maintain the building as long as needed. Period. Period. That's the point of the Scribner Trust. The Scribner Trust is to maintain the building. I think that that's completely aside to whoever occupies it or whoever uses it. It's a community use building for the town of Ashland. I don't think that we're not in the library business.
No, you're right, we're not.
I would just think that would be because that is the purpose of the trust, and that was my understanding of the original letter, was that Tom presented at the meeting, was to help us preserve the building, to leave the trust alone, to let it grow, to have more funds, to slow its depletion.
I have a question about the $10,000. Are you in favor of raising $10,000 somewhere in the budget?
I'm certainly in favor of using less money from the Scribner Trust to try to preserve it, to slow the bleed. I think preserve at this point in time is not the right term. I think slow the bleed is the right term, and that's why I've said again and again, and even at one meeting, Dick said, let me get this straight, Amanda, you think it's best that we sit down with the Board of Selectmen? And I said, yes, I think that that's best. I think that it's a town building, it's a community building, and it serves the town. And I think by charging the library $10,000, just kind of charging the town of Ashland $10,000, because the library doesn't make an income.
The town library belongs to the town.
Exactly.
They are they have their town budget.
Yes.
They're like the public utilities.
It's like the
fire,
highway, like the water and
everything.
sewer. It's all that belongs to the town.
Yes and no.
No matter
okay?
whose budget you put that $10,000 in.
Yeah.
It's all going
gonna
the same.
It's going on our tax bills. Exactly.
But are you in favor of the $10,000?
I'm in favor of sitting down with the Board of Selectmen and the library trustees, as the Attorney General's letter noted, and discussing financial needs and coming to having a line on the town budget to support the Scribner building.
Which it would be if you put it in the library's budget.
That's right.
It's all in the same
is.
pot.
It
same
is,
pocket.
and that's why I'm saying I think you're just using the library as a vehicle.
Well, only because the library is the current users of the library.
Why are you so opposed to sitting down and talking to the Board of
I'm not
Selectmen?
opposed.
I'm not opposed. Anybody opposed?
I'm
I
no,
didn't
but
hear that, did you?
I
Did
am
you say
hearing
that?
that.
No,
but
you're
I'm
hearing
hearing that because you're so
You're not hearing
adamant.
words. You're hearing your opinion. That's
Because
what
you're so
listening to.
adamant on charging the library.
Nobody.
Well,
If I,
well,
okay, so here we go. I have a
Listen,
proposal.
Wait, one
Uh-huh.
second. We start when we have gone 80 years like this. Okay.
I know.
What? I know. Okay. Wait for 1 minute. We've gone 80 years like this.
Mm-hmm.
Is it time for a change? Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
The fact of the matter is that the trust has been able to maintain itself and maintain the building.
Mhm.
Okay. Now we're going to come up against needing a roof, so we're going to blow $5,000 or $7,000 out of the trust to maintain the building, for which the trust was, and by his words,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it's used for. It's not. It's
Yeah,
not. It's a
maintaining the building.
long-term.
Long term.
Correct.
Mhm.
So the $10,000, one way or the other, is going to come out of someone's pocket somewhere. If the library decides to move out for some reason,
Mm-hmm.
then what's it going to cost you and I? I know I pay taxes on $700,000 worth of real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So when they talk about $1 at
Mm-hmm.
the town meeting, when they sit at the town meeting and they start adding up all these warrant articles, and all of a sudden the tax rate's at $23 a thousand, and then by the time we walk out of the meeting, we're at $27.56, right? Because people feel good, they want to vote for this, do that, the other thing. You have, at this point in time, it would behoove, my opinion, because everybody's entitled to an opinion, it would behoove the town, right, to say, okay, let's keep the library in the Scribner building where it is, because we have infrastructure problems within the town that we need to address. They're going to suck up a lot of money. Going to be a huge demand for money when we start to rebuild some of the infrastructure that we have here in town. We have a decaying electrical system. We have a road base that needs to be taken care of. We have town buildings, other than this one, that are also going to be a drain, the town hall, et cetera, et cetera. All these little buildings that we own all over town are part of our bill.
Right.
That's the taxpayer's bill.
Yeah.
As would this $10,000 fee be.
Exactly.
So I don't understand what you're telling me.
I mean, I just don't understand why you need to charge the library. I mean, I just don't understand why we just don't go to the Board of Selectmen and ask for a line on the town budget that says
Well,
Scribner
I just
Building
answered
We
your
just
question.
did.
I don't know why you don't want to accept
through
it.
the library. Through the library. Yeah, I mean, it's just,
But
I
you don't
think
really want to
it's-
It
accept
has
it.
to be put
odd.
in somebody's budget.
We could have a budget.
Who can have a
Scribner.
budget?
Scribner, we
No,
could
you
have a
can't.
line. Why
No.
can't we have a line?
No.
Why not?
Can't have it because it's a trust.
No, but the building
It's
could
a
have a
trust.
line. The building could have a line. The building isn't the trust. They're two different
The
things.
town owns the building,
There you go.
and the trust is to maintain the building.
Okay, so we can
Okay.
have
While the
charge the
town- The
town.
town had as every gift, whether it's 100, if I decide to go up to the town meeting next week and give them $100, they have to vote to take my $100.
I don't think they have to vote on 100. I think there's a minimum. There's a minimum
whatever.
amount that you have to vote on. But I understand what you mean. There is an amount.
Make
Yes.
1,000, Rick.
Yeah.
Okay, if I give the town $10,000 tomorrow, they
Yeah.
have to vote whether or not to take that.
Absolutely, it has to be at a public
When the
meeting.
town-
Yes.
Correct. When the
Uh-huh.
town elected or voted
Yeah.
to accept the Scribner Center,
Yes.
they accepted it with the outlines of the will.
Yes.
Are we agreeing on this so far?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I don't understand why you think
Uh huh.
that we should line item the trust.
Uh huh. I didn't say the line item of the trust. I said the line item of the building.
No, but the trust is taking care of the maintenance of the building.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
they're
oh,
two
yeah.
different things.
No, they're not. We're talking about maintaining the building here. That's
Yeah.
all we're talking.
Well,
we're not
so-
talking about the library staying
so
or going or
back
coming or
to-
leaving.
I think we're just going to agree to disagree. Back to this letter that goes to Mr. Donovan.
So the fee will
Uh-huh.
allow the trust to maintain as needed for the safety and continued usage of by the community.
Of and by the community to maintain the building for the continued.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would go with that.
Yeah.
I think that's nicely worded.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so I suppose. I will keep my name on this letter, but I'd like the minutes to say that Amanda did so with reservation. If the minutes could please state that.
I don't see why you want to do that.
Well, I have a right to do that, and I would like to say that my name could
Exactly.
stay on there with reservation, please.
Then you can recuse yourself from the whole issue, is the way to do it. Not say by reservation. Recuse yourself from the letter.
You won't let me have the right to leave my name on it, but have the minutes say that left my name on with
What's the
reservation.
value of your
Either
name?
you are or you aren't.
Yeah.
Well, let's
We've always voted as a board here. 3-2, 4-1, 5-0, 0-5. The board.
Then I
votes.
guess I'm going to vote on this. What is this going to be? 1-3.
Well, I'm in favor of it with your recommendation. We change the last line.
Good. I'm in favor of it, but I'd like the minutes to note that I was in favor with reservation. I don't know why I don't have the right to do that under Rick Perret, but apparently I don't.
All I'm saying is that if, all right, we'll make a note of that in the meeting. In
Of the
meeting
minutes.
notes. Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. Money, as you see, we have, you can't see because we don't have it. We have $182.39 in the checkbook. We need to take a vote on taking another $5,000 out of the trust, which is our annual, beginning of the year fuel, taking care of those expenses. We take it out $5,000 at a time. What we generally do is wait till the market has a great day, call the guy down there and bang it that day.
It's a 3-day settlement fee. But anyway, that's okay.
how are we set on oil?
There's about 400 or 500 gallons in the tank right now. Well, last time we stuck it, so we're not going to get the.
No.
So we should and check the fuel. It is okay, but we'll need to order soon. Tommy estimates about $2,500 to fill a barrel. So that would be half of the $5,000.
Yeah, you might as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we
Yes,
need
yes,
to
and
keep the
yes.
building.
Um,
Would you like what I wrote out for the minutes to state correcting the 23-year mathematics? There you go. Thank you.
let's see. And the only other thing that, the annual inspection of the fire extinguishers. That's just a rubber stamp, the guy's gotta come right on them, check them, blah, blah, blah. Anybody have any issues with that?
No? That's something that the fire station does, right?
No,
On the-
outside service.
Oh, really?
No, they won't. It's an
Interesting.
outside service, yeah.
Huh.
I don't know why it's an outside service, but it's always been that. It was like the boiler inspection, that'll be coming up pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
Guy comes in here, he
that's
walks
a
down the
joke
cellar, he
almost.
looks at the furnace, he said, that's cool. I have a question for Alice. Alice, I was here last, a week ago or so, maybe?
No, DeWolf was here last time.
No. I was here with, I came here for something. Oh, check a circuit breaker downstairs. It was popping the lights. I came down, checked the
Okay.
cellar. It was popping the lights for
Okay.
the outside.
All right.
And went to wash my hands and there was no hot water. So I went down the cellar and looked at the hot water heater. Hot water heater probably needs to be replaced. Now it's tied in with the boiler. So I don't know if it can be separated from the boiler or. So what I'd like to do is make a motion to get somebody to come and give us an estimate on replacing. It's only a small
Yeah.
25, maybe 30 gallons on the side.
It's a very small thing.
But they need, these people here are handling people's hands, et cetera, all the time. So
You
I
need to
think
be
that
able to
needs
wash
to be
their
taken.
hands. Absolutely.
Yep. Yep.
It's a health issue as far as I'm concerned.
I
I don't know
agree.
why it hasn't, but, so do we want to get 3 competitive estimates or do we want to do business with
I don't
that?
think you're talking about that much money.
I don't either. We
I
can,
agree with you.
yeah.
I don't think that you need to bother with
Yeah.
3 competitive
so
estimates.
we'll
Mhm.
toss the ball to Squam Lakes.
Sure. I hear good things on those guys.
And they've been, you look, he's made an investment in his business on Main Street in
Yeah.
town. He's employing people.
Yes. Oh, I think we should definitely use an
Yeah.
Ashland business. I agree.
I think it's a 30-gallon heater. It's very small.
It can't be any, I mean, it's,
I know.
Mm-hmm.
anybody else got anything else?
No, are we all squared away with the people who did the decorations?
No, we'll take care of that.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about that last time, we just get them a little
Gift certificate. Mm-hmm.
for the common man.
Mhm.
I came down the other day and took the plywood stuff out of the ground and everything, and the
Okay.
big stuff. Sherry will come down, we'll leave the glass walls up. The lights are disconnected, so there's no
Yeah. Yeah.
power being used.
Mhm.
You got anything else, Dick?
I have nothing else.
Amanda?
I have to apologize, Alice. I didn't get the copy of that letter that the letter you guys wrote.
Well, and that's why after the last meeting, looking at the,
I saw this. I saw the date here. It was 22nd. Why are they waiting so long to send it to us?
yeah, no.
December 19th, they
after
came
we
through. You just
saw-
didn't click on your attachments. There were attachments. Tom sent it to all of us.
After we saw the
There were
tape of the
attachments.
meeting, we said, let's send it to everybody, just to make sure everybody's
Mhm.
in the loop.
It wasn't
Some-
attached to my tax
Well,
bill.
yeah, it was, because if you
No, it
look,
wasn't.
show me that your printout here, right here of Tom's words. Where's you had the printout of Tom's words,
Right.
and I can show you where it shows that there's attachments right here. These are the
understand
attachments. So when you see your email, I don't see where it says. Sometimes you'll see like a paper clip or something. You'll say attachments, and if you click on that, but they were right there, and if you clicked on them, they would have opened up. The Scribner DOJ. That's the letter from the Department of
Right.
Attorney General.
Right.
And then this was the letter
Right, I
from the
understand
library
that.
trustees. Yeah.
But that doesn't reference the
Do
tax
we need to
bill.
respond to this?
Reference the tax
library
bill.
letter?
What do you mean?
Didn't Alan say something that was attached to the
No, we'll
tax
just
bill?
wait for them
No,
to,
no. She said when they
Legal.
saw the
Okay.
I post our meetings on
Oh,
YouTube,
okay,
and when
okay.
they
Okay.
watched the meeting, they saw that we
Okay.
discussed this, and so they wanted to be sure
Alright.
that they had sent their response. Hmm. Thank you for having the minutes, though, Rick. That was nice.
I'm glad to see the book came back. I'd love to know where it was.
The book. What's the book? I see it's a book. Oh, okay.
It's all the meeting notes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, which reminds me, we knew what the trust was. Always talk about the trust fund. It was 108,000 and
yeah.
change.
Oh, I do want to note that the library directors noted that when we left last month, the back door was not locked behind us. So I said that I
checked
would
it.
say this.
I checked it myself. I always check the front door.
I'm just telling you what
and
I
I'm
heard.
just telling you what I heard.
And I said I would say
I check
something.
the front door and the back door whenever
Okay.
I leave this building because the front door was left open by the
Yeah.
librarians one night, and
Yeah.
I caught that. So
Okay.
just as if you've watched me leave the building, you always say
Rick's
I
in
checked the
charge.
doors.
He's got it.
That's right.
Great.
Adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.